Ed, I wanted to ask you, going back to what we reported a few minutes ago, that there is confirmation that the FBI is at least investigating a connection to the killing of a professor in Brookline at his home. When you hear that news, first of all, I want to ask you what your thought process is on hearing that they're at least saying this aloud now. And I also want to know sort of what that opens up as part of an investigation. In other words, the videos that they showed us from Brown University, that's one set of evidence. When you decide suddenly that perhaps he's part of a second crime scene, that really opens a lot of doors, I would guess. Right now, all of a sudden, you have extra cameras that you can check in a second location. You can see perhaps somebody getting into a car at that second location. Can you talk about that at all?
Sure. A critical piece of information really changes the whole dynamic of this investigation. Mm-hmm. The first thing you try to do is determine whether there was anyone in that classroom that had any link, regardless of how tenuous, to the professor at MIT. The professor at MIT was working on very high-level science, I don't want to say science projects, but science work that may affect national security. So it opens up the whole question as to who would want him dead and why, and are they somehow connected to Brown University? All of these questions have to be looked at very carefully. It's speculation right now. I keep saying that because we don't have insight into exactly what's happening in the background. It may be a very simple explanation where a college student from MIT and Brown was upset with the type of conduct or experience that he had at those two places. But the combination of those two things give detectives a chance to look for commonalities, and that's what they're doing right now.
And just quickly again, as far as having a second actual crime scene, that also, I'm assuming, opens up the possibility of, all right, well, now let's start to search cameras in that area as well, which they would have already been doing for the initial, investigation into the death of the professor. But now suddenly you're bringing two cases together, which I would assume gives you suddenly a wealth of evidence.
Absolutely. And the number of security cameras in that neighborhood is high. I'm familiar with the neighborhood. It's a place that you don't see this kind of crime occurring. When I heard that someone was shot like that, it didn't seem like a street crime situation to me. It sounded a little more complex. And now it's playing out that it probably was. So there will be evidence, there will be video, and they will be comparing these things to see if it's the same player.
And I was talking with Cheryl about this just a moment ago. Is it safe to assume that one of the reasons that we have not heard a great deal about the specifics in the Brookline case, ballistics, any evidence that's been found there, may be because in the interest of investigating a possible link, there are things we should not know right now?
Oh, I think so. The investigators want to keep as much information close to the vest as they can. DA Morrissey is in charge of this, does not want to have this play out in the press, and really has a grave responsibility here to hold these people accountable. I know the colonel from the state police has the investigators on the scene. Their work is all important right now. Keeping things under wraps is important until it's not, meaning that there may be a time when they want to release the information to get more information from the public. They try to keep things quiet, but every once in a while, it's important to get something out there, and we'll just have to see how this develops.
Ed, during the marathon bombing, we all learned here just how well all of the law enforcement agencies in this area work together and train together. In a situation like this right now, where you have such a sensitive, potentially dangerous pursuit taking place, how connected are all of these agencies in New England and beyond?
They have to be shoulder to shoulder in this type of an incident. Everybody needs to work together. They need to play nice in the sandbox. This is not a case like a Super Bowl where one team is going to win. This is about a collegial joint effort so that everybody is working together and bringing the strengths of the federal government and their massive resources and the local government and their contacts in the community into one whole so that the best possible outcome occurs. It only works if everybody's working together, and I'm sure that's the case today.
I think it's interesting, Ed, as you were talking about sort of getting information out there when you do it and the strategy behind it. I want to ask Cheryl here. You were the spokesperson at Boston Police when Ed was working there as well, right? When
He was the boss.
He was the boss. When there is an investigation going on, it doesn't have to be something as big as this. There is some strategy, I think, right? When you're trying to track something down and you have the news conference and you give out the information like we have seen all week long, but then there are little things that you got to get out there and you maybe don't want to put your face on, but you want to make sure that information is out there. Why is that a strategy that can be helpful in an investigation?
Well, I think I said earlier, one of the things that Ed Davis knew very early on, long before social media became what it is now, is he realized how valuable it would be and what a wonderful tool it would be during a very serious incident like the Boston Marathon, to be able to push information out directly to the community so that people would know what was happening, what you're asking them to do, to the extent that you could share the information. And I think that that was a very, very valuable thing, and it was an important thing, especially during that time where, similar to this time, you have a lot of fear in the community. You had a major incident where bombs went off during, a televised event that is really an international event, and there was a lot of concern there about exactly what was happening. And I think, Ed's strategy was from the beginning, and said to me, we need to let people know what's going on, and we did. We said that there were explosions. We didn't know there were bombs at the time. There were explosions at the finish line, and here's what we're asking you to do: stay away from the area. If you have video, send it in. But to the extent that you can let people know what's happening, it's very valuable. You can help with fears, and you can actually empower them to do something about it. And at the same time, you're giving out information. And I think it was, on his part, it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant.